Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing my part 2 follow-up review on the Nike Romaleo 4s. These came in a little over a week ago and I've gotten to put them through the paces of at least 3 squat sessions, including heavy squats throughout the week. And I can kind of give my first impression thoughts as far as like how they actually feel when used. So if you haven't seen part 1 of this video, I'll post it up top right about now so that you can go back and check that out. That was the unboxing and me just giving the physical comparison between the Romaleo 4s and the Romaleo 3s, which I've used for over 5 years at this point. Okay, so overall my impressions on these shoes are very positive. They do a lot of things really well and, in my opinion, better than the 3s did, but they do a couple things not so well. And I'm curious, given more time, if my opinion would change. And, you know, maybe a ways down the road, right? We're talking months and months of training. Maybe I'll do one last follow-up video just to bring it back around and see if these opinions of mine have changed. But the first thing that I noticed whenever I put on this shoe, is that it is way more secure, even though it's the same size. So for me, I wear a size 13. In running shoes, I wear 13s or 14s. I prefer to size down in my lifting shoes just for the sake of them being more snug and being secure. In my deadlift shoes, I actually wear 12s. But as you can see, the sizing's almost exactly the same between the two, and their toe box is very similar. But I think what makes the difference here is actually the thickness of the material itself. So if you look at the Romaleo 3s, it's way more flimsy in the toe, and you can tell this is almost like a mesh. Whereas the 4s, right, the bend, it's way harder to bend them. Now, part of that might be the break-in process, so that's something I would want to follow up on. But you can tell that the top of the toe box is also way thicker. And whenever your foot's in there, okay, you just feel an overall sense of compression, and I really enjoy that. There is no wiggle room for your toes in this shoe, even though it's adequately wide. It's almost like, I imagine like a memory foam is what it feels like inside the shoe, whereas I don't get that feeling at all in this shoe. Now, where the shoe doesn't provide as snug of a fit is actually the back, and I think part of it is because of how stiff it is up front. Whenever I walk, it doesn't want to bend, so instead my heel moves up and down in the back of the shoe a little bit, and that annoys me. But whenever I'm thinking about the context of actually lifting, so squatting, there's no situation where I'm bending my toe. It's just flat steps. So while that's an annoyance, it's not a deal breaker for me, because in the squat, when I'm going to be using these, I'm not going to feel it at all, right? And the security is more felt in the toe. So I would say overall, these are a step up from the Romaleo 3s for that reason. Now, onto the straps. While we're talking about security here, in my first impressions video, I said I was excited about the 2 straps because I thought they would add more compression and security. And long story short, they do, but you have to be careful. So the first time that I used this shoe, I cranked them as tight as possible, just like I do normally with my 3s, right? Normally I use the strap very tight. Well, about halfway through my workout, my feet were killing me, and turns out I just didn't pay enough attention. You can tell this strap goes all the way around the shoe, even down below. So when you crank this really tight, it's like a band constricting the middle of your foot, and it's super uncomfortable, right? So something that I noticed for my follow-up training, I actually cranked the top strap pretty hard, and then I had to be more moderate on the second strap because otherwise it will certainly constrict your foot. Now, overall, I'm still, like, the jury's still out on the verdict as far as, do I like the 2 straps or do I prefer the one larger strap of the Romaleo 3s? But I don't think it's an overall, like, game changer for me. The final thing that I'll mention is I really like the added weight of this shoe. This shoe overall just reminds me, like, when I wear it, it feels like I have a pillar where my foot is connected to the ground. Whereas these might be a little better for someone who's doing something like CrossFit. Okay, it's a little bit more lightweight, but these, for whatever reason, I feel more anchored to the ground in my squat. And a lot of that weight is in the heel, you can tell, but I think the sole is a little bit heavier itself, this platform here, and then the extra padding in the actual toe box, like I had mentioned. Okay, as well as, that's an important thing to mention that I forgot, the tongue is way just higher quality on this shoe. It is padded, and whenever I strap tight, it protects me from the shoestrings and everything cutting into my foot. Whereas that was my one gripe with the Romaleo 3s. The tongue is really thin, so whenever I would tie my shoe tight, it would dig into my foot there because there wasn't much protection from the tongue. I also felt like I was going to rip it. If I remember correctly, I think I actually did rip this tongue. Let me check it out here. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if you all can see that, but I had ripped this tongue just because it's so thin and trying to get it on my foot. There's no chance of this happening with the Romaleo 4s, right? So overall, if I had to give these a rating, I would give them a solid 8 out of 10, you know? There's a chance if I continue to wear them and they break in a little bit, solve the heel issue from the break-in, it could be up there 10 out of 10. I had always set these as the standard with a solid 9 out of 10 shoe. I'm happy I moved up. I think these will end up being better than the Romaleo 3s in my opinion, but it comes down a lot to time. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully that helped out. If you are deciding to make a purchase, move up from the 3s to the 4s, I think if you can get them at the right price, that's the big point, okay, I think it could be worth it for you. I got mine at $91 on eBay. That's definitely worth it. If you can get the 3s for significantly cheaper, I would go for those. That's kind of just where I sit so far. I think they're comparable enough. But I'm looking forward to using these shoes with my training. You know, who knows, months in the future, maybe I'll do a part 3 where I give kind of an overview and see if any of my thoughts have changed. Thank you all for listening. Let me know down below, what weightlifting shoe do you use in your training? And until next time, happy lifting.